got some big things to talk about today, folks. Donald Trump has has not formally been indicted yet for the Georgia case. However, and this is as of like a couple minutes ago. Uh, Georgia grand jury probing Trump's election subversion returns indictment. So he's about to be served his indictment, folks. It's about to be indictment 4. I don't even have a subtitle for it. Um, he's in a bit of a pickle. Yeah. Uh, let's just go over the what Reuters has on it so far. The grand jury in Georgia investigating Donald Trump's attempts to overturn his 2020 election loss handed up a criminal indictment on Monday. It was unclear whether the charges involved the former president, though they to be clear, we don't know that those indictments included the former president, but we can make like a 99% accurate guess that yes, it does. Yeah, the grand jury handed down the 10 true bills, and now the clerks have to process them. It's a thing, but basically yes. Yeah. There is a document going around right now on social media purporting to be like the charges that they're handing down. The Fulton County office has basically set out a statement saying that those are not real. Those aren't the charges he is being brought up on, or the people being indicted are being brought up on. But yeah, which is unfortunate because there'd be a lot to talk about there. Because if that leaked document had been true, it was saying he was being charged on RICO, which is very, very, very interesting. Georgia judge to allow cameras in courtroom for Trump election case. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, the judge signed them and then said to the press, "That's it? Was it all you wished for?" Yeah, right? Hey, tipster. So, yes, basically, Donald Trump is in so much trouble. Prepping stream today, guys, really hammered home just how bad things are about to be for Trump under this particular investigation. So if like all of the documents, have their I's dotted and their T's crossed, we could see the formalized dropping of the indictment like tomorrow, essentially. But yeah, they're basically turning. They're basically turning. Oh god. Why did I not check this? Nope. Yes. Basically, they're turning the area around the Fulton County District Court into like just a barricaded just a barricaded fortress. Because they're expecting some people might be a little bit upset about this one in Georgia. Oh yeah, we're not fucking around. Yeah, no, they're not fucking around, especially because chat, this appears to be one of the places where Republican rhetoric is kind of hitting into the brick wall that is the electorate that they've developed, the conservative voter base that they have developed over the years with misinformation is now starting to want blood, to put it bluntly. So
are you concerned?
Yeah, there's like, I mean, goodness, this is from 3 hours ago. Here, we'll just watch a little bit of this.
Once again, that we could see violence as a result of the former president's words.
Obviously, at this point, you never know what's going to happen. My biggest concern for years now, and I've said this at elections conferences where we get professionals who run elections around this country, is somebody will be motivated by some of this kind of language at some point and do something stupid. It's not going to be an organized thing. It's not going to be a bunch of conspirators together. It's going to be one probably mentally unstable individual who's going to be radicalized through this process, and that's my biggest concern through this.
Joining Andrew, Harry, and Tamar is my colleague, NBC's Vaughn Hilliard. He's also outside the Fulton County Courthouse for us. Vaughn, it's such a chilling thing to see Gabe Sterling still talking about his fears and worries and concerns about a threat for violence. He was the first person who really thrust the lies about Georgia into the national conversation when he had that really emotional press conference, worried that, quote, someone's going to get shot if the lies continue. We're now 2.5 years post lies. We're learning new things about the Trump campaign's role in peddling them and promoting them. And I wonder if you can take us inside what this.
Okay, I don't care about the analysis here because I'm providing you the analysis, the better analysis. But what is interesting here is particularly, I believe, this one. First of all, this is just funny.
Can't win the fairway. He's way down in the polls.
President Trump, did you intend to overturn the 2020 election?
You know the answer.
Did you intend to overturn the 2020 election? You know the answer. Dude. He's basically just walking around and being like, yeah, I did it, so what? So what? It's a free country for me to come around and break the law. Yeah, so what? So what are you going to do about it? I got things to do with the Iowa State Fair. Hey. But this is maybe the more worrying thing. This is just from like 2 days ago. And he's talking with Matt Gaetz here. And, well, just listen to what they got to say.
Mr. President, I cannot stand these people that are destroying our country, that are opening our borders, that are weaponizing our federal law enforcement against patriotic Americans who love this nation as we should. We are having a great time at the fair. We love standing with you, but we know that only through force do we make any change in a corrupt town like Washington, D.C. And so to all my friends here in Iowa, when you see them come for this man, know that they are coming for our movement, and they are coming for all of us. And as hard as you see him work, I need you working 10 times harder, 100 times harder. We're going to win Iowa. We're going to march for the nomination, and we're going to save the greatest country in town.
Yeah, you know, the only language Washington understands is force, huh? When they come for this man, they're coming for all of you. Again, the rhetoric that is you're seeing around Donald Trump right now is escalating, and frankly, I'm not going to be shocked if there's some kind of attack on a courthouse or something. Just letting you know that is kind of on the table right now. Now, another thing here that we all need to be aware of is that when it comes to Donald Trump in the Georgia case, I do really want to emphasize that from everything that I have seen from the new information that's been coming out so far, he and anyone who is, connected to him on this are giga-fucked. That's the legal term for it. They are giga-fucked. And I say that specifically because of an exclusive story that went up, today. Here. Exclusive. Georgia prosecutors have messages showing Trump's team is behind voting system breach. Members of his legal team were able to gain access to voting machines in a deeply red county in Georgia, in Coffee County. A county that goes 70% for Donald Trump. Basically, people from Trump's team called up people on the ground, one of whom was later reused as a fake elector. And they have the text messages to show that this happened. And basically got the door opened for them by these people in the county to just go through the voting machine. You know? This is wild, dude. Hey, Bobo Hobo, you're pretty cool. It's man, this is just absolutely shocking stuff. And I do have to say, apparently Fannie Willis is the person overseeing this case. And first of all, I do find it funny. Donald Trump keeps calling her a young African American lady. And she's actually like 52, 51, somewhere in there. Like, Trump keeps trying to do racism, but like accidentally is like, she's a young lady. Can we start chanting "lock him up"? I mean, I'm not gonna stop you. I will say though, like, this is a really good read. First of all, if you want an understanding of how gigafucked Donald Trump is, okay? I'm just posting it in chat if any of you want to go over it yourselves. But the long and short of it is essentially several things. As soon as the 2021 January phone call, find me 11,000 votes, happened, she started her investigation into this. And she's been at work on this for literally years. It's been, it's basically been her mission to ensure that if she brought a case against Trump, it was going to stick. So, like, she had more time investigating Donald Trump than I think any of the other people, like, more than Alvin Bragg, more than Jack Smith. But she's the last one to get the indictment in, and that's specifically because she has been gathering as much evidence as possible to take him down. And everyone is young compared to Trump. I mean, this is true. This is true. This is true. Does Trump have a choice of being tried by a jury or a judge? I think they're jury trials. I think they are jury trials. Don't quote me on that. Not a lawyer. And yeah, Donald Trump's been walking around saying, I quote, he's being unfairly. I'm being unfairly targeted by a young woman, a young racist in Atlanta. So this time it's really Jover. I mean, it's been Jover the entire time, but this is like, I mean, dude, again, this is the equivalent of just being surrounded and then being just gunned down from all sides. That is the legal equivalent of what's happening. Yeah. So, yeah, the scuttlebutt is essentially that she is going after him on under Georgia's racketeering laws, and specifically RICO. And essentially a RICO charge would be something that comes with up to 20 years in prison for each charge under RICO, as well as basically it would involve listing a lot of co-conspirators, which we know is happening in this case, and each of those co-conspirators can also be brought down. It's a very easy way if you can prove like a criminal organization, which, if the Trump legal team was perpetrating crimes to break into, voting machines, that would definitely escalate to something that could be called a criminal organization. Essentially, you could use that to flip a lot of people in the case against the top of the organization. Again, this is why RICO is typically used on like gangs, and can be used to like organized crime, going after the mob bosses and stuff. So, yeah, it's this is it. This is kind of like they're coming after him for fraud. They're coming after him for RICO. They're coming after him for literally stealing nuclear documents and war documents. They're going after him for trying to overthrow democracy. This is it, dude. This is the end of the road, legally speaking. This is everything they have legally, and frankly, if none of it sticks, it just kind of proves that presidents are indeed above the law. That's kind of where we're at right now. Fuck him. He is hopefully so fucked. Yeah, no, he is. Also, there is a very decent chance that in both the Georgia case and as well as the January 6th case, that Donald Trump could basically talk himself into a prison cell. It is not outside the realm of possibility. And specifically why I'm saying that is, in the case of the Georgia stuff that could, is not confirmed to be dropping on Donald Trump, but is dropping on Donald Trump. 11 hours ago from Axios, Trump tells Georgia witness not to testify. Like, that's about as blunt of witness tampering as you can get. This is as bluntly like witness tampering and obstruction of justice as you can get. Yeah. I'm reading reports that the failed former lieutenant governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan, will be testifying before the Fulton County grand jury, Trump wrote on his Truth Social account on Monday. He shouldn't. I barely know him, but he was right from the beginning of this witch hunt. A nasty disaster for those looking into the election fraud that took place in Georgia. Yeah. It's, he wants to be I mean, he might get what he wants in this case. I can very much see him going to jail here because, again, keep in mind, he's already been ordered not to say anything remotely like that in the January 6th case. This is just from last Friday. Trump's speech will be limited to protect trial witnesses, judge orders. And he's just not doing that. He's just not doing that. Trump has no plans to stop posting about 2020 election conspiracy case despite stern warnings from judge. Oh god. Literally, chat. He is not. He's not going to stop. He is not going to stop. Yeah.
At Hake in Atlanta, and also with me is Carol Lamb, former U.S. attorney and current NBC News legal analyst. So, Garrett, let me start with you there.
Does this dig a larger hole for him? Absolutely.
Of this, do you have a sense?
There is no faster way to fuck yourself in the courtroom than by disrespecting a judge.
The timing of when we might get a decision and a vote on whether they will indict.
Well, Kristen, the first three Trump indictments all happened later than we thought they would. This one seems like it's on track to possibly happen sooner. You mentioned George Cheedy, the journalist who was supposed to testify tomorrow. We just watched him walk up the courthouse steps behind me to go in and begin his testimony a few minutes ago. Furthermore, the judge who's presiding over this case just told reporters in his courtroom that we should basically make some early dinner plans and stick around, that it doesn't seem as though this courthouse will be closing up at 5 today. And every indication, and it's just tea leaf reading at this point, is that this grand jury does intend to kind of keep working much later than they would otherwise. So we do seem to be barreling towards a conclusion of some kind. Whether that comes in the form of an indictment today, tomorrow, or not at all, it's still too early to say.
Whenever you get the stick around for dinner, that is undoubtedly one of the strongest tea leaves you can read, Garrett. There's no doubt about that. Garrett, talk to me about this confusion earlier regarding the court docket in Fulton County. This is potentially significant. I'm going to ask Carol Lim about it, too, but explain what happened here.
Yeah, this was a confusing moment that turned more than a few reporters' hair gray today when Reuters, the wire service, briefly posted something that they said was from the docket here in this case, suggesting that Donald Trump had been indicted on several counts, even posting a picture of what looked for all the world like a docket that you would see in a courthouse like this one. But just as quickly as it was posted, the story was changed to say that it appeared that perhaps this indictment was coming. That document, which Reuters said it was been posted on the Fulton.
Yeah, again, Gamergy, there's no way in hell, short of them actually like putting him in jail, that he is going to stop tweeting.
Website was removed.
The man can't
leaving
stop
all the rest
posting.
of us to wonder whether it was some kind of misfire from the courthouse by some eagle-eyed reporters at Reuters.
Ask for a mistrial or try to use this to slow the legal proceedings. What do you make of that?
Kristen, I think that would be very unusual. I doubt that that would happen. It appears that if something was posted, it was posted in error by the court system. These things.
Okay, I don't care about the fake document.
Asked for. This is still plain about on the defense team's part. So I wouldn't expect to see that happen. It is interesting that something did get posted and they may have had something, this sort of wrapping up of a grand jury proceeding. And it's not surprising to see some uncertainty at this point, which she has to. It's her
from Judge Chutkan. What are the potential implications of that, given the warning that he got from Judge Chutkan?
Well, he is testing the limits. There's no question about that. Judge Chutkan has been proceeding in a very measured manner, which she has to. It's her responsibility to ensure the safety of everyone involved in these judicial proceedings, and she will do that. But she also has to do that in a very measured and very deliberate fashion. You can't just bang the gavel and say, I find you in contempt and you're going to jail. When you're a judge, you're actually cautioned that if you're ever going to use your contempt powers, it has to be in conformance with a lot of due process. So her job is to be fair but tough and ensure that the defendant has a lot of warning about what behaviors will or will not result in a finding of contempt. And there's, I think, still some distance to go, unless she says something that actually would make a reasonable person say, you know what, he's really inviting some sort of act of violence or some sort of intimidation against a witness or a court member. He may have a little runway left, but it's not going to last forever. She will take steps if she has to enforce her powers.
Speaking of which, Neil Katyal tweeted that Judge Chutkan may respond, quote, "It would not surprise me if Judge Chutkan called a hearing with Trump's presence, given his new remarks." Do you agree with that assessment, or do you think, as you say, there's more time before she takes any action whatsoever?
Well, I wouldn't disagree with Neil. I think different people might approach this differently. She may say, you know what, he's going to call me biased. He's going to lash out at the court system, but that is his First Amendment right, and he can say what he wants about how he thinks this prosecution is unfair. Again, it has to approach the level of endangering somebody's life because he seems to be inciting some kind of violence, or really saying something that may intimidate a witness or a potential juror or somebody on the court or a member of the opposite party. It's a judgment call here, and I think she's going to be careful. On the other hand, the former president has to be aware that whatever Judge Chutkan does, if she does take measures, and even if he decides to appeal it or take a writ of mandate or something up to a higher court, her actions are going to be judged by other judges, and other judges care a lot about keeping control of their courtrooms. So I think that you can see the way she's been proceeding. It's been very measured, and I think if she continues on that road, she will be upheld if she decides to take stronger measures.
Yeah, which this is kind of the thing, right? Like, she can't just immediately throw him in jail, obviously. Like, it has to be, like, repeated, grotesque levels of, unacceptable conduct in order to put him in prison. You know, like, they need a smoking gun just to even bring these charges against him in the first place. They need, like, a double smoking gun to put him in jail. So it might be another month or two of him, like, making really irresponsible comments publicly before he's put into a jail system. Yeah, 3 to 4 weeks. Maybe 8 weeks, you know, tops. We'll see. So yeah, this is huge. I don't really have much more to say here. Just that it's actually pretty incredible to see it all happen, especially because I know that there was a not insignificant period of time where a lot of people, both in my audience even, who thought I was crazy for saying like they're gonna nail him on this stuff, and seeing him get indicted on like literally all the things is pretty gratifying to me. It's beautiful. All right, baby, let's go. It's time for us to cover the rest of this Trump stuff. These trumped up charges. Before we jump into that, chat, just real quick, we've been going for an hour and a half. And no one yet today has subscribed over on riverboat.gg. If any of you would like to support me over there, please consider doing so, because I get, on Twitch, I split all subs and donos 50-50 with Twitch. On YouTube, I split them 70-30 with YouTube. And over on riverboat.gg, I split them with nobody except for a minuscule percentage for PayPal fees. So consider coming on over here and dropping it. Mint Kuro, you are on top of this shit. Hell yeah. 40 count indictment. All right, yeah, this is the real deal. Let's go. The Atlanta Journal Constitution has gotten a hold of this. We're gonna go over it. I've done it. I've done it for every single indictment so far. Let's see what we got. I full screen it? I can. Hiccup. Salmon Moose!
Chat should dono more. They should feel bad. Boo woo 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 boo woo BWA.
Boo woo 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 boo woo woo BWA indeed. Chat should feel guilty. Also, we are now 5 subs away from our next political clips compilation video. But Jet, I did everything right, and they indicted me. The people there Jan 6th were all charged when it happened. Why wait 2.5 years to charge Trump? Because Donald Trump isn't being charged for physically going into the Capitol building or assaulting a police officer. Donald Trump is being charged with a far harder crime to prove. And also, when we're talking about charging the President of the United States or a former President of the United States, that's literally never happened before in the history of our country. Like getting those charges to stick. So, like, prosecutors who are going to bring those charges want to make sure that if they bring those charges, they have evidence to back it up, that they are going to be able to nail that guy, right? Because if they can't, if he gets off, if they fail, their career is basically over. You know, they're donezo, you know? And yes, KBS, thank you for the $5 dono.
Trump indicted again. BWA ha ha ha.
Indeed. Let's go. All right. So Fulton Superior Court. Let's see. We got 1. Violation of the Georgia RICO, Racketeering, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act. Yeah, this was very expected. Solicitation of violation of oath by public officer. False statements and writings. False statements and writings. Solicitation and violation of oath by a public officer. Okay. False statements. Impersonating a public officer. And yes, this is against Donald Trump, Giuliani, John Eastman, Mark Meadows, Kenneth Chesborough, Jeffrey Clark, Jenna Ellis, Ray Smith III, Robert Cheeley, Michael A. Roman, David Schaefer, Sean Micah Thresher Still, Stephen Clifford Lee, Harrison Prescott Floyd, Trevian C. Cuddy, Sydney Catherine Powell, Kathleen Latham, Scott Hall, and Misty Hampton, aka Emily Misty Hayes. So, yes, there are 40 counts here against all of these people, because again, they're being charged as part of like a criminal organization. So a lot of these are going to apply to a lot of them.
Bringing some BWA rave and messing with TTS. Bubba wubba WUBB 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 OONCEOONCEOONCE. Give the jack some dough no WUBB WUBB W.
Why is it reading them all out? Why wasn't it saying wub 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 wub? Alright. You guys silly. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. We have to go over this right now because this is breaking news, but we'll do the compilation clip after this, okay? Alright. So let's just see what else we got here. So we got false statements and writings, RICO, solicitation of violation of oath by public officer. We've got impersonating a public officer, which I'm going to guess is due to the fake electors scheme. Conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer. Forgery in the first degree. Conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree. By the way, these conspiracy charges make them so much worse. False statements and writings. Yeah, we got a lot of these. False statements and writings. We got anything else? Conspiracy to commit election fraud. Influencing witnesses. Conspiracy to commit solicitation of false statements and writings. Filing false documents. Yeah, there's conspiracy to commit computer trespass, which, yeah, conspiracy to commit computer theft, conspiracy to commit computer invasion of privacy, conspiracy to defraud the state. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Perjury, and then, 41 charges. Perjury is the last one. So lying under oath. Yeah, all of these computer charges are related to the Trump team illegally accessing voting machine data and doing so knowing it's illegal. So I heard that if he gets pinged for treason, he's actually ineligible to be president. So yeah, it depends on what he gets pinged for. Let me just see. I don't know the technical details about this yet, but there are some crimes for which you can be disqualified for holding public office. Only if he's charged under the Insurrection Act. I don't know if he has. I think he might have been charged with that under the on the January 6th indictment.
They hit him with RICO charges? He's gigaf asterisk CKED.
Yeah, no, he again, this is why I opened stream today by saying the legal term for how bad position Donald Trump is gigafucked. That is the legal jargon in this particular circumstance. And Carl Marky Marks, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Holy shit, thank you so goddamn much. Hey, you got Ugly Pie in there too, friend of the channel. isn't that for only a certain number of years that he's ineligible to become president? Ienzo, it's my understanding that if somebody gets charged with sedition, they can never hold public office again. It was something designed for post-Civil War times to ensure that like people who fought for the Confederacy couldn't hold public office. So, yes, let's keep looking at this. Here, let's go through this. I think I'm gonna do what I did last time and make this a small window on this screen so that I can read it better. Okay. This. There we go. This is gonna be a long one, chat. Buckle yourselves in. Okay. Adding. All right, here we go, babies. God, it has an entire table of contents. Okay, we definitely have to go over the RICO stuff. I don't know that we'll have to go over each individual act of each one of these counts. But we will go over at least each incident of a distinct crime. I think there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how much we have to actually get through. The RICO charge is 72 pages. Okay, the RICO charge is the majority of this, so let's jump into it, shall we? All right, let's go. I got water. Hello, Ghetto Spock. Your music is great, and happy Indictment. Let's go. I did everything right, and they still indicted me. Goddamn, dude. All right. The grand jurors aforesaid, in the name and behalf of the citizens of Georgia, do hereby charge and accuse Donald John Trump, Rudolph William Louise Giuliani, John Charles Eastman, Mark Randall Meadows, Kenneth John Chesebro, Jeffrey Bossert Clark, Jenna Lynn Ellis, Ray Stallings Smith III, Robert David Shealy, Michael A. Roman, David James Schaefer, Sean Micah Thresher Still, Stephen Cliffgard Lee, Harrison William Prescott Floyd. That is too many first names for one name. Holy moly. Whoever named Harrison Floyd, what were you doing? That's so many first names. That you gave one person 4 first names. Okay, anyway. Trevian C. Cuddy, Sydney Catherine Powell, Kathleen Alston Latham, Scott Graham Hall, and Misty Hampton with the offense of violation of the Georgia RICO Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act for the said accused individually and as persons concerned in the commission of a crime and together with unindicted co-conspirators in the state of Georgia and county of Fulton on and between the 4th day of November 2020 and the 15th day of September 2022, while associated with the enterprise, unlawfully conspired and endeavored to conduct and participate in, directly and indirectly, such enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity in violation of OCGA 1614.4b, as described below and incorporated by reference as if fully set forth herein, contrary to the laws of said state, the good order, peace, and dignity thereof. Okay. Yeah, this is, honestly, guys, RICO is, like, the #1 way you get people like Donald Trump, so, seeing this is kind of like seeing the silver bullet get loaded into the gun, you know, metaphorically speaking. Defendant Donald J. Trump lost the United States presidential election held on November 3rd, 2020. One of the states he lost was Georgia. Trump and the other defendants charged in this indictment refused to accept that Trump lost, and they knowingly and willfully joined a conspiracy to unlawfully change the outcome of the election in favor of Trump. That conspiracy contained a common plan and purpose to commit 2 or more acts of racketeering activity in Fulton County, Georgia, elsewhere in the state of Georgia, and in other states. The enterprise. And again, guys, conspiracy, just to clarify, when we're talking about conspiracy, that doesn't necessarily mean, you know, like smoke-filled room, like a bunch of old men smoking cigars or whatever. It's just a group of people making a plan to break the law together. And this particular type of conspiracy violated RICO laws. So, yeah, basically RICO is famous for taking down organized crime like the mob. Okay, here are the details of the enterprise. At all times relevant to this count of the indictment, the defendants, as well as others not named as defendants, unlawfully conspired and endeavored to conduct and participate in a criminal enterprise in Fulton County, Georgia, and elsewhere. Defendants Donald J. Trump, I'm not going to list off all their names again, I'm sorry. Unindicted co-conspirators individual 1 through individual 30. Oh, damn. Okay, so, there are 30 additional co-conspirators who have not been indicted, probably because they flipped on all of these people, who are high profile enough that they were dead to rights by the time 30 people flipped on them. And others known and unknown to the grand jury constituted a criminal organization whose members and associates engaged in various related criminal activities, including but not limited to false statements and writings, impersonating a public officer, forgery, filing false documents, influencing witnesses, computer theft, computer trespass, computer invasion of privacy, conspiracy to defraud the state, acts involving theft, and perjury. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, even without having read through all of this right now, the fact that they are bringing, again, all of these charges against this large of a group of people means they have very, very good evidence. And I do want to remind you guys, this is one of the pieces of evidence. Georgia prosecutors have messages showing Trump's team is behind the voting system breach. It was a very small story back in 2020, but there was a story about Georgia's voting systems being, having unauthorized access. And that turns out to be Donald Trump's team. So this is big. Yeah. All right. This criminal organization constituted an enterprise, as that term is defined in OCGA 1614.3.3. That is, a group of individuals associated in fact. The defendants and other members and associates of the enterprise had connections and relationships with one another and with the enterprise. The enterprise constituted an ongoing organization whose members and associates functioned as a continuing unit for a common purpose of achieving the objectives of the enterprise. The enterprise operated in Fulton County, Georgia, elsewhere in the state of Georgia, in other states, including but not limited to Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and in the District of Columbia. The enterprise operated for a period of time sufficient to permit its members and associates to pursue its objectives. Can we get a linky? Yes, you can. Here you go. I'm currently on page 16, if you all want to read along. Yeah, they got the receipts, baby. And Mint Kuro, thank you so much for sending this over. I didn't think this was going to drop until tomorrow, but they did say that the Fulton County District Court was working overtime on this. So, yeah, they wanted to get it out tonight. All right, manner and methods of the enterprise. The manner and methods used by the defendants and other members and associates of the enterprise to further the goals of the enterprise and to achieve its purposes included, but were not limited to, the following. 1. False statements to and solicitation of state legislatures. Members of the enterprise, including several of the defendants, appeared at hearings in Fulton County, Georgia, before members of the Georgia District General Assembly on December 3rd, 2020, December 10th, 2020, and December 30th, 2020. At these hearings, members of the enterprise made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election. The purpose of these false statements was to persuade Georgia legislators to reject lawful electoral votes cast by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia. Members of the enterprise corruptly solicited Georgia legislators instead to unlawfully appoint their own presidential electors for the purpose of casting electoral votes for Donald Trump. Members of the enterprise also made false statements to state legislators during hearings and meetings in Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania in November and December 2020 to persuade legislators in those states to unlawfully appoint their own presidential electors. Again, keep in mind, this was done relatively out in the open. Like, members of Donald Trump's team went on television to talk about how they were doing this. And, gotta say, it's hella illegal to try and steal votes from the Democratic public. That is super illegal. Goodness. Okay, 2. False statements to and solicitation of high-ranking state officials. Members of the enterprise, including several of the defendants, made false statements in Fulton County and elsewhere in the state of Georgia to Georgia officials, including the governor, the Secretary of State, the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Members of the enterprise also corruptly solicited Georgia officials, including the Secretary of State and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, to violate their oaths to the Georgia Constitution and to the United States Constitution by unlawfully changing the outcome of the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia in favor of Donald Trump. Members of the enterprise also made false statements to and solicited state officials in Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. 3. Creation and distribution of false electoral college documents. Now, we've actually seen images of these circulating already, so we know for a fact that the false electors that were put in place by the Trump organization here had documents that were made to be as close to the actual documents as possible. So the documents certifying them as electors were forged. That is a violation of forgery law. So, yes. We just want to make that clear. Members of the enterprise, including several of the defendants, created false electoral college documents and recruited individuals to convene and cast false electoral college votes at the Georgia State Capitol in Fulton County on December 14th, 2020. After the false electoral college votes were cast, members of the enterprise transmitted the votes to the President of the United States Senate, the Archivist of the United States, the Georgia Secretary of State, and the Chief Judge of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia. The false documents were intended to disrupt and delay the joint session of Congress on January 6th, 2021, in order to unlawfully change the outcome of the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in favor of Donald Trump. Similar schemes were executed by members of the enterprise in Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. 4. Harassment and intimidation of Fulton County election worker Ruby Freeman. Members of the enterprise, including several of the defendants, falsely accused Fulton County election worker Ruby Freeman of committing election crimes in Fulton County, Georgia. Oh, wait. Yeah. Yes, I remember this. Chat. Yeah, Ruby Freeman, had to come and testify in court, and her mom showed up and also testified in court. I remember this. Yeah, it literally Trump supporters from all across the United States, started a campaign to harass her and her mom to the point where they had to flee their homes. And it legitimately destroyed her health and her life. Yeah. All because of, like, conspiracy based on, like, Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani and such. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. Members of the enterprise, these false accusations were repeated to Georgia legislators and other Georgia officials in an effort to persuade them to unlawfully change the outcome of the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in favor of Donald Trump. In furtherance of this scheme, members of the enterprise traveled from out of state to harass Freeman, intimidate her, and solicit her to falsely confess to election crimes that she did not commit. They thought that she had brought a USB. And remember, we talked about this when I read the last indictment. There was a huge conspiracy going around the Trump circles that the election had been tampered with an army of, like, Biden supporters volunteering at the polls and then using USBs to alter the vote tallies. That was the conspiracy theory. And in the video, in one of the videos of Ruby Freeman, there was, like, a mint, and people were thinking it was like a USB. Yeah, it's wild. Rudy Giuliani, I believe, earlier this year admitted that he had, like, lied about Ruby Freeman, but she, like, honestly deserves, like, damages for this shit. What is interesting is that this the indictment here is saying that members of the scheme or members of the enterprise showed up at her house. Like, they traveled to Georgia to harass Freeman because they were trying to get her to crack so that she would then validate their crazy conspiracy theories. Oh my goodness, dude. 5. Solicitation of high-ranking United States Department of Justice officials. Members of the enterprise, including several of the defendants, corruptly solicited high-ranking U.S. Department of Justice officials to make false statements to government officials in Fulton County, Georgia, including the governor, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and the President pro tempore of the Senate. In one instance, Donald Trump stated to the acting United States Attorney General, quote, "Just say that the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman," unquote. 6, which, by the way, the indictment is saying that Donald Trump said that direct quote, which, again, if true, is a major blow against Trump. Legally speaking. Do these people have any life outside of supporting Trump? Have you seen the clothes they wear? No, they don't. 6. Solicitation of the Vice President of the United States. Members of the enterprise, including several of the defendants, corruptly solicited the Vice President of the United States to violate the United States Constitution and federal law by unlawfully rejecting electoral college votes cast in Fulton County, Georgia, by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia. Members of the enterprise also corruptly solicited the vice president to reject votes cast by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from several other states. 7. Unlawful breach of election equipment in Georgia and elsewhere. Members of the enterprise, including several of the defendants, corruptly conspired in Fulton County, Georgia and elsewhere to unlawfully access secure voting equipment and voter data. In Georgia, members of the enterprise stole data, including ballot images, voting equipment software, and personal voter information. The stolen data was then distributed to other members of the enterprise, including members in other states. And I need to pause here to point out, Donald Trump, if this is true, and it will be shown in court, but if this is true, and they would not be alleging it if they did not have some form of evidence to back it up. I'm not saying that, prosecutors don't do that ever. I'm just saying in a case where you are indicting the former president of the United States, you fucking have evidence for every single part of this that you are putting in your indictment. Okay? But if this is true, Donald Trump literally stole votes. Literally stole the votes. I'm getting a little saucy, chat. I wish I could tell my 2016 self, don't worry, that his day is coming. This is very cathartic to read out, to be honest with you. 8. Obstructive acts in furtherance of the conspiracy and the cover-up. Members of the enterprise, including several of the defendants, filed false documents, made false statements to government investigators, and committed perjury in judicial proceedings in Fulton County, Georgia, and elsewhere, in furtherance of and to cover up the conspiracy. All right. Acts of racketeering activity and overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. As part of and on behalf of the criminal enterprise detailed above, the defendants and other members and associates of the enterprise committed overt acts to affect the objectives of the enterprise, including but not limited to Act 1. On or about the 4th day of November 2020, Donald J. Trump made a nationally televised speech falsely declaring victory in the 2020 presidential election. Approximately 4 days earlier, on or about October 31st, 2020, Donald J. Trump discussed a draft speech with an unindicted co-conspirator, Individual 1, whose identity is known to the grand jury, that falsely declared victory and falsely claimed voter fraud. The speech was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Act 2. On or about the 15th day of November 2020, Rudy Giuliani placed a telephone call to unindicted co-conspirator Individual 2, whose identity is known to the grand jury, and left approximately 83-second-long voicemail message for unindicted co-conspirator Individual 2, making statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 election in Fulton County, Georgia. This telephone call was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Again, I think this is just supposed to be Act 3. We found a typo, chat. We did it. This typo will be the undoing of the entire indictment. On or about the 19th day of November 2020, Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, and Sidney Powell, and unindicted co-conspirator Individual 3, whose identity is known to the grand jury, appeared at a press conference at the Republican National Committee headquarters on behalf of Donald Trump and Donald J. Trump for President, Inc., the Trump campaign, and made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia and elsewhere. These were overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. Act 4. On or about the 20th day of November 2020, David Schaefer sent an email to unindicted co-conspirator Individual 4, whose identity is known to the grand jury, and other individuals. In the email, David Schaefer stated that Scott Hall, a Georgia bail bondsman, quote, has been looking into the election on behalf of the president at the request of David Bossie, unquote, and asked unindicted co-conspirator Individual 4 to exchange contact information with Scott Hall and to, quote, help him as needed, unquote. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Act 5. On or about the 20th day of November 2020, Donald Trump and Mark Meadows met with Majority Leader of the Michigan Senate Michael Shirkey, Speaker of the Michigan House of Representatives Lee Chatfield, and other Michigan legislators in the Oval Office at the White House, and Donald Trump made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Michigan. Rudy Giuliani joined the meeting by telephone. This meeting was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Oh my goodness. On or about the 21st day of November 2020, Mark Meadows sent a text message to the United States Representative Scott Perry from Pennsylvania and stated, quote, can you send me the number for the Speaker and the leader of Pennsylvania's legislature? POTUS wants to chat with them, unquote. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. So basically, okay. So I'm gonna stop here for a moment. We might skip over some of this because a lot of what this is doing because earlier they talked about how part of the conspiracy involved stealing or defrauding voters in Georgia by overturning the results of the Georgia election, and also overturning the results of the election in other states. Fannie Willis is talking. Okay, we're going to take a look at that real quick.
Developed by that investigation, a Fulton County grand jury returned a true bill of indictment, charging 19 individuals with violations of Georgia law arising from a criminal conspiracy to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in this state. The indictment includes 41 felony counts and is 97 pages long. Please remember that everyone charged in this bill of indictment is presumed innocent. Specifically, the indictment brings felony charges against Donald John Trump, Rudolph William Louis Giuliani, John Charles Eastman, Mark Randall Meadows, John Shebro,
they got them dead to rights,
Jeffrey
Gayfesh.
Clark, Jenna Lynn Ellis, Ray Stallings Smith III, Robert David Cheeley, Michael A. Roman, David James Schaefer, Sean Micah Tresher Steele, Stephen Cliffgard Lee, Harrison William Prescott Floyd, Travion C. Cootie, Sydney Catherine Powell, Kathleen Austin Latham, Scott Graham Hall, and Misty Hampton, also known as Emily Misty Hayes. Every individual charged in the indictment is charged with one count of violating Georgia's Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act through participation
this is
in
the
a
real
criminal
Kraken.
enterprise in Fulton County, Georgia, and elsewhere.
The real Kraken were the crimes we
illegal
committed
goal
along the way.
of allowing Donald J. Trump to seize the presidential term of office beginning on January 20th, 21. Specifically, the participants in association took various actions in Georgia and elsewhere to block the counting of the votes of the presidential electors who were certified as the winners of Georgia's 2020 general election. As you examine the indictment, you will see acts that are identified as overt acts and those that are identified as predicate acts, sometimes called acts of racketeering activity. Overt acts are not necessarily crimes under Georgia law in isolation, but are alleged to be acts taken in furtherance of the conspiracy. Many occurred in Georgia, and some occurred in other jurisdictions and are included because the grand jury believes they were part of the illegal effort to overturn the results of Georgia's 2020 presidential election. The acts identified as
I'm just pausing this real quick because this makes me wonder that if they are able to bring a case against Trump on this and like the Trump organization, that would also mean that every other state in which they tried to overturn the election results could probably also piggyback off of this to bring their own cases against Donald Trump.
Predicate acts
on a state
or
level.
Acts of racketeering activity are crimes that are alleged to have been committed in furtherance of the criminal enterprise. Acts of racketeering activity are also charged as separate counts in the indictment against those who are alleged to have committed them. All elections in our nation are administered by these states, which are given the responsibility of ensuring a fair process and an accurate counting of the votes. That includes elections for presidential electors, Congress, state officials, and local offices. The state's role in this process is essential to the functioning of our democracy. Georgia, like every state, has laws that allow those who believe that results of an election
like
are
every
wrong,
state,
whether because of intentional wrongdoing or unintentional error, to challenge those results in our state courts. The indictment alleges that rather than abide by Georgia's legal process for election challenges, the defendants engaged in a criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result. Subsequent to the indictment, as is the normal process in Georgia law, the grand jury issued arrest warrants for those who are charged. I am giving the defendants the opportunity to voluntarily surrender no later than noon on Friday, the 25th day of August, 2023.
Let's go.
I remind everyone here that an indictment is only a series of allegations based on a grand jury's determination of probable cause.
They literally have to turn, all of them have to turn themselves in by next Friday in Georgia. That is delicious.
To support the charges. It is now the duty of my office to prove these charges in the indictment beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. I would like to take a moment to thank the Superior Court Clerk, Shay Alexander, and her staff for staying late and making sure that this indictment was processed. I would also like to thank the men and women of Sheriff Labatt's office for keeping the courthouse open, but most importantly for keeping us safe over the weeks and months that have led up to this indictment, and for what I know they will continue to do to keep us safe. We also want to thank the Atlanta Police Department and other law enforcement partners who have worked with the sheriff to keep us safe. I will now take a very limited number of questions prior to going to sleep.
I'll go first.
Madam District Attorney.
If you don't mind, Savannah 11 to 11 alive. Quick question, can you clarify in Georgia the mandatory minimum when it comes to RICO charges, whether it's servable by probation or how that might play out?
The RICO charges has time that you have to serve, so it's not a probated sentence.
Madam District Attorney, what's the timetable for your trial?
What is the timetable for the trial? Yes. As you know, in this jurisdiction, trials are set by the judges. And so it will be the judge that sets the date of the trial. This office will be submitting a proposed scheduling order within this week. However, that will totally be at the discretion of the judge.
And you're the fourth person, the fourth jurisdiction now to indict Donald Trump. Do you believe you need to be the fourth one to try him, or could you move it up? Do you want to be the first to try him?
I don't have any desire to be first or last. I want to try him and be respectful for our sovereign states. We do want to move this case along, and so we will be asking for a proposed order that occurs a trial date within the next 6 months.
Have you had any contact? Earlier today, there was a fictitious document, according to the Fulton County Clerk's Office, that was circulated online with charges against former President Donald Trump. That fictitious document matched exactly the charges that we now see in this indictment. Can you tell us more about that document leak? Because now you have the former president's lawyers who are saying that this is emblematic of a serious problem with your office.
No, I can't tell you anything about what you refer to. What I can tell you is that we had a grand jury here in Fulton County. They deliberated till almost 8 o'clock, if not right after 8 o'clock. An indictment was returned. It was true billed, and you now have an indictment. I am not an expert on clerks' duties or even administrative duties. I wouldn't know how to work that system, and so I'm not going to speculate. Next question.
Have you had any contact with the special counsel about overlap between these cases, and do you intend to try all of these defendants together?
Do I intend to try the 19 defendants in this indictment together? Yes.
Hell
With the
yeah!
special counsel about the overlap between this indictment and the federal indictment?
I'm not going to discuss our investigation at this time.
Have there been any conversations?
Let's
Made
go!
by former President Trump that this is a politically motivated indictment.
I make decisions in this office based on the facts and the law. The law is completely nonpartisan. That's how decisions are made in every case. To date, this office has indicted, since I've been sitting as the district attorney, over 12,000 cases. This is the 11th RICO indictment. We followed the same process. We look at the facts, we look at the law, and we bring charges.
Have there been conversations about the terms of surrender?
Will you try this case yourself,
Has
Ms.
the jury
Willis?
been cleared?
Get down. Down.
You have been listening there to Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis walking out of that news conference now as we are rounding the corner toward midnight Eastern time. An extraordinary.
Okay, it is pronounced Fani. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Fani. All right, gotcha. Oh man, this is exciting. She's fabulous. She is fabulous. Like she handled that press conference really well. Also, like it shouldn't be surprising. Like especially if she's overseen over 12,000 cases. Like she knows how this process is supposed to go, how it would go for anyone else, and she's trying to keep it as close to that as possible. She's got a very Atlanta sass. I love it. Yeah, she seemed very, very ready to go home and sleep. Oh God. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. God damn it. I love the polite fuck if I know response, right? Yeah, like what else was she gonna give you on that one? I wish somebody had followed up with the question on like what does the prosecutor's timetable look like if we, you know, that would be nice. I would have liked to know what her preferred timetable would be, just so we have like the fastest possible trying of this case versus like, you know, the Trump desired date of this case, which I know would be never, but that's not an option anymore because, you know, he broke laws. Very likely. Oh my goodness. Chat, we've been streaming for over 2 hours. If you've been enjoying the stream, drop some subs and donos, hit the follow button over on Twitch, hit the subscribe button over on YouTube, hit the like button on the stream, do all the things. Because we are dropping back into this indictment. We're going to go over the acts here. This is a big day. This is the final indictment, as far as I know. There are no more indictments waiting above Donald Trump's head. However, there was a news story earlier today that I'm not sure how it's going to work with the other courtrooms so far. That, you know, where Donald Trump is facing his legal challenges. But Georgia will be allowing cameras into the courtroom for, you know, that particular trial. So we can at least look forward to seeing Donald Trump tried on this particular case, which is very, very nice. Let's fucking go. Yeah. Yeah, you bet your bootstraps I'm going to be sitting there every day covering that case. Especially if it's the first one, you know, depending on the timetable. So we'll see. It's the final indictment. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Brrrr. We're heading for prison. Okay, I'm done. Chat, support Jack so she can have more truffle popcorn while watching Trump's court case. Nah, truffle popcorn is expensive. I'm a buy the working man's popcorn. Orville Redenbacher's. Can't believe Donald Trump has finally been made illegal, right? Okay, let's go. So we are currently 21 pages through the indictment. We're making good time. Let's just knock this out, huh? We'll knock this out, and then we'll do the political compilation video. That's why I'm getting chat to fund it. True! If you want me to have nice bougie popcorn, you gotta support riverboat.gg. Alright. Let's go. We're on Act... Yes, we're on Act 7. I honestly never thought I'd see this day. Well, that's kind of the thing, right? Like, Donald Trump broke our democracy. He broke a lot of faith in democracy, right? And one of the ways to restore that is to just come down with a hammer on people who are trying to fuck around with elections like this. That's the way to do it. And honestly, I'm kind of in favor of that. Make it too scary to fuck around with our democracy like this. You know, and anyone who does, you're going to get clapped, you know, in a court of law. This case and the Washington, D.C. case have teeth. The Florida one is too Republican. I'd argue the Florida one also has a ton of teeth. Specifically because it involves nuclear state secrets as well as plans to invade a foreign country. You know. Act 7, it's a long play and the stage lights are bright. Exactly, Robert Adset. You guys better get comfy, okay? On or about the 22nd day of November 2020, Donald J. Trump and Rudy Giuliani placed a telephone call to the Speaker of the Arizona House of Representatives, Russell "Rusty" Bowers. During the telephone call, Rudy Giuliani made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Arizona and solicited, requested, and importuned Bowers to unlawfully appoint presidential electors from Arizona. Bowers declined and later testified to the United States House of Representatives Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol that he told Donald J. Trump, quote, "I would not break my oath," unquote. The false statements and solicitations were overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. Act 8. On or about the 25th day of November 2020, Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis appeared, spoke, and presented witnesses at a meeting of Pennsylvania legislators in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. During the meeting, Rudy Giuliani made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Pennsylvania and solicited, requested, and importuned the Pennsylvania legislators present at the meeting to unlawfully appoint presidential electors from Pennsylvania. During the meeting, good night, Ashley. Get good sleep. Have sweet dreams of Donald Trump in jail. Orange man, orange jumpsuit. It's just poetry. It rhymes. During the meeting, Jenna Ellis solicited, requested, and importuned the Pennsylvania legislators present at the meeting to unlawfully appoint presidential electors from Pennsylvania. Donald J. Trump joined the meeting by telephone, made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Pennsylvania, and solicited, requested, and importuned the Pennsylvania legislators present at the meeting to unlawfully appoint presidential electors from Pennsylvania. These were overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. Again, again, they have numerous witness accounts of Donald Trump trying to solicit people to commit crimes. I don't know that they are able to weasel out of this. It doesn't matter. Again, this isn't like a First Amendment. This isn't a free speech thing, right? If you are furthering a conspiracy to commit a crime, it doesn't matter if the thing you are doing in of itself is innocuous, right? Like, if you have a conspiracy to use a hammer to beat somebody's brains in, going to the store to buy the hammer is part of furthering the conspiracy, right? If you and like a few other people have that plan, right? You're carrying out a part of that conspiracy, even if you're not the one who is going to then hammer someone over the head. You were the one who bought the hammer and provided it for the purpose of the conspiracy to commit the crime. So this is kind of what's going on here. Donald Trump was, but in this case particular, Donald Trump was directly trying to encourage people to commit crimes in furtherance of the greater conspiracy. So, yeah. Yeah, it's, you know how like a murder gets worse if you plan it out ahead of time? Like that's first degree murder is literally planning out the murder, you know? Conspiracy is like that. It's why it makes literally every crime worse. Yeah, you only need to be a member of the conspiracy. Exactly, Robert Adset, because sometimes even being a passive member of the conspiracy is allowing that conspiracy to succeed, right? So yeah, your active participation isn't even required if you are included in the conspiracy and like communications around the conspiracy, you know? Moving on. Act 8. Oh wait, we got this one. All right, Wow, it goes from Act 8 to Act 14. We might be missing a page here. Yeah, we're missing page 22 in the criminal indictment. I'm not entirely sure why. Yeah, page 22 of the document is just page 23. So we're missing a number of steps here. But we'll continue going through it anyway. Act 14. On or about the 27th day of November 2020, Donald J. Trump placed a telephone call to President pro tempore of the Pennsylvania Senate, Jake Corman, for the purpose of soliciting, requesting, and importuning Corman to unlawfully appoint presidential electors from Pennsylvania. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Act 14. On or about the 28th day of November 2020, Rudy Giuliani placed a telephone call to Speaker of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, Brian Cutler, and left Cutler a voicemail message for the purpose of soliciting, requesting, and importuning him to unlawfully appoint presidential electors from Pennsylvania. This is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. They did this, Rudy Giuliani did this again with Brian Cutler as well. Like the next day. Basically, this is just them trying repeatedly to pressure different political figures to commit crimes. Now, I think it is also worth noting here that either they were able to just find these people. You have it in your copy? Maybe I just need to refresh. We'll refresh and try again. Nope. Oh, weird. Okay, yeah, I have it in mind now. I just had to refresh. Act 9. Okay. Let's see. On or about the 25th day of November 2020, immediately after the meeting of Pennsylvania legislators in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis appeared, spoke, and presented witnesses. Donald J. Trump invited a group of the Pennsylvania legislators to meet with him at the White House. Later that day, Donald Trump, Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, and unindicted co-conspirators Individual 5 and Individual 6, whose identities are known to the grand jury, met with the group of Pennsylvania legislators at the White House and discussed holding a special session of the Pennsylvania General Assembly. These were overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. Next Friday. Yeah, not this coming Friday, the Friday after that. On or about the 26th day of November 2020, Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis placed a telephone call to the Speaker of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. Man, they just kept calling Brian Cutler. They left him a voicemail message to get this done on the 26th. And then we had, on the 26th, the 27th. And Yeah, the 28th, the 29th. God damn, they just kept calling this motherfucker. Take the hint, guys. On or about Act 17. On or about the 30th day of November 2020, Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis appeared, spoke, and presented witnesses at a meeting of Arizona legislators in Phoenix, Arizona. Unindicted co-conspirators Individual 5 and Individual 6, whose identities are known to the grand jury, were also present. During the meeting, Rudy Giuliani made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Arizona and solicited, requested, and importuned the Arizona legislators present at the meeting to unlawfully appoint presidential electors from Arizona. During this meeting, Jenna Ellis solicited, requested, and importuned the Arizona legislators present at the meeting to unlawfully appoint presidential electors from Arizona. Donald Trump joined the meeting by telephone and made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Arizona. These acts were furtherance of the conspiracy. This is like Christmas, isn't it? It is like Christmas. Absolutely like Christmas. Holy moly. On or about the 30th day of November, and this is Act 18, 2020, Michael Roman instructed unindicted co-conspirator Individual 7, whose identity is known to the grand jury, to coordinate with individuals associated with the Trump campaign to contact state legislators in Georgia and elsewhere on behalf of Donald Trump, and to encourage them to unlawfully appoint presidential electors from their respective states. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. On or about the 1st day of December 2020 and the 31st day of December 2020, Donald Trump and Mark Meadows met with John McEntee and requested that McEntee prepare a memorandum outlining a strategy for disrupting and delaying the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021, the day prescribed by law for counting votes cast by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia and from the other states. The strategy included having Mike Pence count only half the electoral votes from certain states and then return the remaining electoral votes to state legislators. The request was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. On or about the 1st day of December 2020, Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis met with Speaker of the Arizona House of Representatives Rusty Bowers, President of the Arizona Senate Karen Fann, and other Arizona legislators in Phoenix, Arizona. Unindicted co-conspirator Individual 5, whose identity is known to the grand jury, was also present. During the meeting, Rudy Giuliani made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Arizona, and requested, solicited, and importuned the legislators present to call a special session of the Arizona State Legislature. These were overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. Act 21. How many? Oh my God. There are literally 56? Oh my God. Okay. Oh, okay. Chat, quick question. Do you want me to go through these fast, or do you want me to read them off one by one? I just realized there are literally hundreds. Hundreds of these. All of them? Do it for the catharsis? I'm gonna be here a long ass time. Imagine being named Rusty Bowers. Fast is fine by me. Give me all the tea. Okay, but if I give you guys all the tea, I gotta get donos and subs. Okay, I got a peepo to feed. A lot of them are gonna repeat the same things. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm picking up on here. Yeah. Okay, all of the RICO acts in furtherance of the conspiracy go until page 71. Oh my God. They're already repeating? Yeah, because they're going by each act that they can prove furthered the conspiracy, right? All right. How about we read the meatier ones, because some of these shorter ones are just repeats. Okay. All right. Act 23, on or about the 3rd day of December 2020, Rudy Giuliani John Eastman, Jenna Ellis, and Ray Smith III committed the felony offense of solicitation of violation of oath by public officer in Fulton County, Georgia, by unlawfully soliciting, requesting, and importuning certain public officers then serving as elected members of the Georgia Senate and present at the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee meeting, including unindicted co-conspirator Individual 8, whose identity is known to the grand jury, Senators Lee Anderson, Brandon Beach, Matt Brass, Greg Dolezal, Steve Gooch, Tyler Harper, Bill Heath, Jen Jordan, John F. Kennedy. Oh my God! Well, this is going to send the QAnon people nuts. William Ligon, Elena Parent, Michael Rhett, Cardin Summers, and Blake Tillery to engage in conduct constituting the felony offense of violation of oath by public officer by unlawfully appointing presidential electors from Georgia in willful and full intentional violation of the terms of oath of said persons as prescribed by law. Plot twist? Yeah, if you're watching, by the way, if you're watching over on Twitch and would like to watch ad-free, you can come on over to riverboat.gg. You just type that into your URL. You'll get here in no time. And come on over here. You can watch ad-free. And, yeah. Do it. Also do it if you're over on YouTube, okay? Get on over here, nerds. William Ligma? Yeah. Okay. On or about the third day of December 2020, Rudy Giuliani committed the felony offense of false statements and writings in violation of blah, 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 in Fulton County, Georgia, by knowingly, willfully, and unlawfully making at least one of the following false statements and representations to members of the Georgia Senate present at the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee meeting, that at least 96,600 mail-in ballots were counted in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia, despite there being no record of those ballots having been returned to a county election office. That Dominion voting systems equipment used in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Antrim County, Michigan, mistakenly recorded 6,000 votes for Joseph R. Biden, when the votes were actually cast for Donald John Trump. Said statements being within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, departments and agencies of the state government, and county and city law enforcement agencies. This was an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3 5A XXII 22, and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Let's see. On or about the third day of December 2020, Ray Stalling Smith III committed the felony offense of false statements and writings in violation of OCGA 16-10-20 in Fulton County, Georgia, by knowingly, willfully, and unlawfully making at least one of the following false statements and representations to members of the Georgia Senate present at a state Senate Judiciary Subcommittee meeting. That 2,506 felons voted illegally in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election. That 66,248 underage people illegally registered to vote before their 17th birthday prior to the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia. That's just a silly lie. That's a silly one. 66,000 youths? My rear end, you can watch all of the Monument Mythos videos that we've watched so far on a playlist over on YouTube. I put them together for you. At least 2,423 people voted in November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia who were not listed as registered to vote. That 1,043 people voted in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia who had illegally registered to vote using a post office box. That 10,315 or more dead people voted in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia. Get 4 indictments and the 5th one's free. True, FTW. And let's see, 6, that Fulton County election workers at State Farm Arena ordered poll watchers and members of the media to leave the tabulation area on the night of November 3rd, 2020, and continued to operate after ordering everyone to leave. Yeah, this again, lies in furtherance of the conspiracy. On or about the 3rd day of December 2020, Donald Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account Real Donald Trump, quote, "Wow, blockbuster testimony taking place right now in Georgia. Ballot stuffing by Dems when Republicans were forced to leave the..." Sorry. "Wow, blockbuster testimony taking place right now in Georgia. Ballot stuffing by Dems when Republicans were forced to leave the large counting room. Plenty more coming, but this alone leads to an easy win of the state." Unquote. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Oh, God. They're listing individual tweets. Okay, I'm just going to, whenever they list a tweet, I'm just going to read the quote. "People in Georgia got caught cold, bringing in massive numbers of ballots and putting them in voting machines. Great job, Brian Kemp, GA." Unquote. Oh, God. Let's see. Rudy Giuliani called the president pro tempore of the Georgia Georgia Senate, Cecil Terrell Butch Miller. Man, you really got to live in a place where you think everyone's straight to use the nickname Butch. Just put that together. Moving right along. "Gee, what a surprise. Has anyone informed the so-called, says he who has no power to do anything, Governor Brian Kemp, GA, and his puppet Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, GA, that they could easily solve this mess and win. Signature verification and call a special session. So easy." Unquote. Okay, Act 33. On or about the 6th day of December 2020, Sidney Powell entered into a written engagement agreement with Sullivan Strickler LLC, a forensic data firm located in Fulton County, Georgia, for the performance of computer forensic collections and analytics on Dominion voting systems equipment in Michigan and elsewhere. The unlawful breach of election equipment in Coffee County, Georgia, was subsequently performed under this agreement. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Okay, so Sidney Powell, the crazy Kraken lady, literally, just stole voting machines. You said Jeff Duncan, but my brain heard him saying Jeff Dunham. The puppet was staring at me, Rudy. I know it. He saw me. Saw me for real life. Okay. On or about the 6th day of December 2020, Robert Cheeley sent an email to John Eastman, unindicted co-conspirator 8, whose identity is known to the grand jury, and Georgia Senator Brandon Beach that stated, quote, "I'm working on setting up a call for you with the speaker and the president pro tempore tomorrow. I'm also making the leadership aware of the importance of Trump electors to meet on December 14th. Please provide the citation to the requirements of the duties, which they must comply with." Unquote. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Also in this one, John Eastman and Robert Cheeley, unindicted co-conspirator individual 8, Georgia Senator Brandon Beach, let's see, stated that Trump presidential elector nominees in Georgia needed to meet on December 14th, 2020, sign 6 sets of certificates of vote, and mail them to, quote, the president of the Senate and to other officials, unquote. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. In the email, Robert Cheeley further stated, quote, "I assume you can make sure this happens," unquote. And Robert Chile previously wrote, Professor Eastman told me tonight that it is critical that the 16 electors for President Trump meet next Monday and vote in accordance with 3 U.S.C. Section 7, unquote. Okay, furtherance of the conspiracy. Yeah, again, I'm not gonna read all these. I just can't. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. It's too much. It's too much for any one live stream. Let's see. 10th day of December 2020, Kenneth Chesborough sent an email with attached documents to Arizona Republican Party Executive Director Greg Safston and others. The documents were to be used by Trump presidential elector nominees in Arizona for the purpose of casting electoral votes for Donald Trump on December 14th, 2020, despite the fact that Donald Trump lost the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Okay. Yeah. So far, we have Duty and Ligma. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, again, this is just violating each of the states' laws regarding electors. And the charges for solicitation of violation of oath by public officer is basically like, hey, yeah, you tried to get these people to break the law, and here are all the people you tried to get to break the law. Thought Trump was already indicted in Georgia? Nope. He's been indicted in the Florida documents case. He's been indicted in the January 6th case in Washington, D.C. He's been indicted in the Manhattan District of New York. And now he is indicted in Georgia. They have the payment records for the voting machine breach. Goddamn. Yeah, like it is. They got like the firm that Sidney Powell worked with to basically turn over all of their financial documents. If you know, basically like, hey, you don't want us to slap you down? Give us the goods. Give us the documents. Here's Act 56. This one is interesting. On or about the 10th day of December 2020, Rudy Giuliani committed the felony offense of false statements and writings in Fulton County, Georgia, by knowingly, willfully, and unlawfully making at least one of the following false statements and representations to members of the Georgia House of Representatives present at a House Governmental Affairs Committee meeting. 1. That it is quite clear from the State Farm Arena video from November 3rd, 2020, that Fulton County election workers were stealing votes and that Georgia officials were covering up a crime in plain sight. 2. That at State Farm Arena on November 3rd, 2020, Democratic officials, quote, got rid of all the reporters, all the observers, anyone that couldn't be trusted, unquote. Used the excuse of a water main break, cleared out the voting area, and then, quote, went about their dirty, crooked business, unquote. 3. That between 12,000 and 24,000 ballots were illegally counted by Fulton County election workers at State Farm Arena on November 3rd, 2020. 4. That in Michigan there were 700,000 more ballots counted than were sent out to voters in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election, which was accounted for by quadruple counting ballots. 5. That Ruby Freeman, Shay Moss, and an unidentified man were, quote, quite obviously surreptitiously passing around USB ports as if they're vials of heroin or cocaine, unquote, at State Farm Arena to be used to, quote, infiltrate the crooked Dominion voting machines, unquote. 6. That 96,000 mail-in ballots were counted in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia, despite there being no record of those ballots having been returned to a county elections office. Said statements being within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, departments and agencies of state government, and county and city law enforcement agencies. This was an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, 5A22, and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. I hope Ruby Freeman gets justice. I hope she sees all of these people go to jail. Let's see. Oh, by the way, I feel it's important to note something. The Georgia governor cannot pardon anyone. There's a separate commission of a few people that handles that. Also, the judge likely will have to remand Trump since he's obviously a risk of influencing witnesses and a flight risk if they follow Georgia law. Bail is only granted if they can positively affirm that he's not a risk for those things. True. And I definitely think that there's going to be an issue when it comes to influencing witnesses. And I think he's going to be remanded quite quickly. Specifically because there was an Axios story from earlier today about how Donald Trump was trying to pressure a witness into not testifying to the grand jury. So I think he's going to be in pretty deep shit by like tomorrow, you know? Yeah, exactly. You're on top of it. It's all here and I'm so excited. Yeah, me too. Let's see. On or about the 11th day of December 2020, Kenneth Chesborough sent an email to Jim. This isn't a real name. Jim DeGraffenreid, and stated that quote, the purpose of having the electoral votes sent in to Congress is to provide the opportunity to debate the election irregularities in Congress and to keep alive the possibility that the votes could be flipped to Trump, unquote. This is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Yeah, no, they're basically just talking in their text messages and emails about overthrowing democracy. That's what he's talking about when he says the votes could be flipped to Donald Trump. He knows that they're not for Donald Trump. Hey, Central Scrutinizer. By the 25th, that's when he'll be due to remand himself? True. We'll see what happens. Goddamn. Here. Oh, here's another one. What a fool Governor Brian Kemp, Georgia of Georgia is. Could have been so easy, but now we have to do it the hard way, folks. Demand this clown, call a special session, and open up signature verification now. Otherwise, could be a bad day for two great senators on January 5th. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. On or about the 14th day of December 2020, David Schaefer sent a text message to unindicted co-conspirator Individual 4, whose identity is known to the grand jury, that stated, quote, "Listen, tell them to go straight to room 216 to avoid drawing attention to what we are doing," unquote, in reference to the December 14th, 2020 meeting of Trump presidential elector nominees in Fulton County, Georgia. Yeah, what they were doing was so on the up and up, they had to, like, shuffle them around in the back rooms. Yeah. Goodness. Yeah, Act 79, Act 80, this is all stuff to do with the false electors. This is 20 times funnier when you remember how much of a Trump bootlicker Governor Kemp was up to that point. Yeah, this was like literally the day Governor Kemp grew a spine was the day he looked at this and was like, wait, I could actually go to prison for this. wait a minute. These are crimes. I'm not going to do crimes. Yeah, okay. So false elector schemes recruited to impersonate electors, and then also the forgery of those of their documents. Okay, yeah. Let's take a look at this forgery in the first degree. 14th day of December 2020, David Schaefer, Sean Still committed the felony offense of forgery in the first degree with the intent to defraud, knowingly making a document entitled RE Notice of Filing of Electoral College Vacancy, a writing other than a check in such a manner that the writing as made purports to have been made by the authority of the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from the state of Georgia, which did not give such authority, and uttered and delivered said document to the archivist of the United States. Yeah, this is an act of racketeering activity and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Yep. Oh man, guys. The Trump ship is going down. The Trump ship is going down. Mama M Media, thank you very much for the raid. We're just covering the Donald Trump indictment. Imagine being a transphobic chatter. They come in, they see massive titties sitting in front of them, and they're like, "Are you a man? Are you special? Like what's the deal? Come on now." C-SPAN is gonna be gold tomorrow morning. Yeah. Women are out. Indictments are now my favorite. Yeah. Hey, Koi Princess. Does he still get out of this if they elect him? So if he is charged under some kind of if he is found guilty of some kind of sedition, then no, he can't be elected. I had to look and make sure that the person didn't come in with me. I'd have banned them from my chat. Mama M Media, I have faith in you. You have a wholesome username that I trust. Is this sedition? You know what? Let's Google that one. Let's see. Trump indictments sedition. Let's put this in here. No worries, Koi Princess. I haven't looked that up yet. Okay. It might be harder for them to charge him with seditious conspiracy. So they might be avoiding sedition charges. The ship is definitely going down here. Hold office if he is convicted. Let's see. Could Trump pardon himself or dismiss the case if convicted? The newest criminal counts against Trump include conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct the unofficial proceeding. This is from his the previous indictment. Is sedition a federal crime? Yes. It's a question of the sentencing? If Trump, yeah, we did talk about that. If he is convicted in Georgia, the governor of Georgia can't pardon him unilaterally. There is a body that could pardon him, but that would, because it is multiple people, that makes it harder to get a pardon. Let's see. Okay. So under the previous one, under the previous indictment, I guess the answer is yes, he could still become president. Which is frankly insane. I feel like if you are if you are being charged with trying to overthrow democracy, like you should be so maybe it's up to the judge. Maybe. I'm not a legal expert. I'd wait for the Legal Eagle rundown. Legal Eagle 10 out of 10, recommend that channel for breakdowns of these high profile cases. The way our Supreme Court is, I could see him being president from prison. Yeah, basically, pardoning oneself is dubious. That one would be difficult to justify under our legal system. Give the eagle a day or two. Oh yeah, absolutely. You know. Independents will run far away from Trump. I mean, I would hope that I would hope that by, you know, being charged with trying to overthrow democracy, people wouldn't vote for him. But you know, like 30% of the Republican base would vote for him if he like shat himself in public and then killed someone. My dude, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome, raiders. Also, folks, we've been streaming for 3 hours now. If you've been enjoying the stream, hit the follow button over on Twitch. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the like button on the stream. Do the things. And consider dropping some subs or donos my way, because that is how I'm able to continue to make content for you guys. This content brought to you by viewers like you. My ability to convey to you the information about this fourth Trump indictment is literally because you guys support me and my work. Yeah, he could shit someone on Fifth Avenue. Hey, my dude raiders. Hey, Envy or Envy None. I mean, fascists don't want democracy. Well, yeah, of course. Squish that follow button. Squish it. Squish it good. Welcome, folks. Also, go follow. Go give my dude a follow, okay? Also, go give Mama M Media a follow. Do it. Go. Go. Man, I gotta say, my workout bra is doing so much more work than I expected it to today. Central Scrutinizer, thank you for the 100 biddies over on Twitch. I appreciate it. I follow my dude. Good, good. Good, good. All right. I am skipping a lot of the we're gonna move on past the RICO violations here, because it is literally hundreds of them. Over 100 of them. I can't do it. Especially not with any subs being forthcoming. Sorry. I gotta be the top in this situation. All right. How does someone who knows classified information get contained in prison without becoming a national security threat? Is there a special protocol or a specific prison for that? Yeah, I would imagine it would be a specific prison and also specific protocol around that particular person's imprisonment. Squish. They put them in private confinement. I mean, I doubt that he's going to be kept in solitary for, like, 20 years. They don't want his case overturned on, like, cruel and unusual punishment grounds. Oh, Oh, protective custody? That could be. Let's see. Here's the one we'll read. On or about the sixth day of January 2021, John Eastman sent an email to counsel to the Vice President, Greg Jacob, that stated, quote, "The Senate and House have both violated the Electoral Count Act this evening. They debated the Arizona objections for more than 2 hours. A violation of 3 U.S.C. 17. And the VP allowed further debate or statements by leadership after the question had been voted upon. Violation of 3 U.S.C. 17. And they had that debate upon motion approved by the VP in violation of the requirement in 3 U.S.C. 15 that after the vote in separate houses, they shall immediately again meet. God, who writes legal jargon? So now that the precedent has been set that the Electoral Count Act is not quite so sacrosanct as was previously claimed, I implore you to consider one more relatively minor violation and adjourn for 10 days to allow the legislatures to finish their investigations as well as allow a full forensic audit of the massive amount of illegal activity that has occurred here. If none of that moves the needle, at least a good portion of the 75 million people who supported President Trump will have seen a process that allowed the illegality to be aired. John." Unquote. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Yeah, so literally after the January 6th stuff happened, John Eastman sent like an email to Mike Pence's lawyer, basically being like, "Hey, look, why don't you suspend for operations for 10 days, and then we could do some things." Just a little minor violation. An itsy bitsy teeny weeny violation. Polka dot bikini. See, on the 7th day of May, 2022, Sidney Powell made at least one of the following false statements and representations in a sworn deposition with the United States House of Representatives Select Committee to investigate the... Oh, yay! I remember this at the time. Not this particular instance, but like watching the Select Committee investigating January 6th attack on the Capitol, there were people who were just lying from the Trump team. And I knew they were lying because I could remember that the things that they were saying were lies. I remember how it actually unfolded. And they're clapping her for lying in to the committee. This is wonderful. She lied by saying that she, quote, "didn't have any role in setting up," unquote, efforts to access voting machines in Coffee County, Georgia, or Antrim County, Michigan, which she did. And 2, that she was aware there was, quote, "an effort by some people," unquote, to get access to voting machines in Georgia, but that she did not know, quote, "what happened with that," unquote, and did not, quote, "remember whether that was Rudy or other folks," unquote, because it was her. Oh yeah, we covered that off-world colonist. Amazing. Amazing stuff. Kathleen Latham committed the felony offense of perjury in Houston County, Georgia, by knowingly, willfully, and unlawfully making at least one of the following false statements in a deposition in the matter of Curling versus Raffensperger case, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. A judicial proceeding after having been administered a lawful oath. 1, she was only present at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office in Coffee County, Georgia for, quote, "just a few minutes," unquote, on January 7th, 2021. 2, that she only, quote, "walked into the front part," unquote, of the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office on January 7th, 2021 and, quote, "didn't get into the office," unquote. 3, that she had no idea if employees of Sullivan Strickler met Eric Cheney at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office on January 7th, 2021. 4, that she did not see Misty Hampton at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office on January 7th, 2021. 5, that her only interaction with Scott Hall at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office on January 7th, 2021 was meeting him, speaking to him outside the office, and then leaving the office. 6, she did not see Scott Hall speak to anyone other than herself at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office on January 7th, 2021. Goddamn. This is very cathartic. I'm not gonna lie. Say the sentence? No. Said statements being material to the accused's own involvement in the January 7th, 2021 unlawful breach of election equipment at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office, and the accused's communications with others involved, the issues in question. This was an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, 5A 25, and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. There you go. I said the thing. Oh, God. Seeing these people get clapped for perjury after perjury. Amazing. The acts set forth above were committed in furtherance of the conspiracy alleged above, and had the same and similar intents, results, accomplices, victims, and methods of commission, and otherwise were interrelated by distinguishing characteristics and were not isolated acts. Finally, we've reached count 2. But it should go a lot faster from here. The grand jurors aforesaid, in the name of behalf of the citizens of Georgia, do charge and accuse Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, Jenna Ellis, Ray Smith III, with the offense of solicitation of violation of oath by public officer, OCGA 16-4-7 and 16-10-1, for the said accused individually and as persons concerned in the commission of a crime, and together with unindicted co-conspirators in the county of Fulton and state of Georgia on the 3rd day of December 2020, unlawfully solicited, requested, and importuned certain public officers then serving as elected members of the Georgia Senate and present at a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee meeting, including unindicted co-conspirator individual 8, whose identity is known to the grand jury, Senators Lee Anderson, Brandon Beach, Matt Brass, Greg Dolezal, Steve Gooch, Tyler Harper, Bill Heath, Jen Jordan, John F. Kennedy, William Ligon, Elena Parent, Michael Rhett, Cardin Summers, and Blake Tillery, to engage in conduct constituting the felony offense of violation of oath by a public officer, OCGA 16-10-1, by unlawfully appointing presidential electors from the state of Georgia in willful and intentional violation of the terms of the oath of said persons as prescribed by law, with intent that said persons engaged in said conduct, said date being a material element of the offense, contrary to the laws of said state, the good order, peace, and dignity thereof. The Gooch. Yeah. We got false statements in writing from Rudy Giuliani in Georgia. We got false statements in writing from Ray Smith III. We've got Donald J. Trump with the offense of solicitation of violation of oath by public officer. We got Rudy Giuliani, Ray Stallings Smith III, solicitation of violation of oath by public officer. Again, this is them trying to get like House of Representatives members and senators, state senators, to go along with their plans. We got Rudy Giuliani with false statements and writings. Man, they've got these guys. They've got these guys. Don't ooh my oh, 4th and final indictment, baby. And I gotta say, I think they got him. I think they got him. I mean, I've thought that they've had him on, like, at the very least from the 2nd indictment, but the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ones, whoo boy, those have been doozies. Yeah, again, forgery. A lot of the RICO acts covered these individual charges. So I feel like we've kind of already read through a lot of these. He's the first. I'm the first president to be indicted twice, and 3 times, and a 4th time. I'm going to be legendary. Yeah, 41 counts of conspiracy. This is incredible. Holy moly. Election fraud. We got the whole gauntlet here. Ends with Robert Shealy, count 41 of 41. Man, dude. Trump going down like half the Illinois governors. True. I did everything right, and they indicted me. Yeah, RICO has mandatory minimums. I believe mandatory minimum for RICO is 5 years. But it can be up to 20, so it's serious stuff for a man of Trump's age. God, I hope the stress actually hits him. Oh, you know it is. You know he's going to be going bonkers on Truth Social if he's not already. Oh my goodness. This is a good feeling. It is a good feeling. It's a good day. Georgia will give us a mugshot. Hell yeah, it will.